Hey, what's up, y'all? Another week. Fun one. It's been busy these last couple weeks, to say the least. So we got a full house today. It's going to be a fun episode. Kind of updates. It's that time of year where Mike's actually in Tampa. We got a group of 50 agents that he is helping to train up, get ready for AEP at one of our Agent Elite trainings. And it's the 2-year anniversary of our office there in Tampa. Nice. And coincidentally, we also found out that we have an AmeriLife affiliate in the same building as us 2 years later. So funny story. But anyways, we can get to that another time. It's like heavy travel season right now for those of you in the industry that know, like July and August end up being pretty brutal. And we've just been like, back-to-back weeks just flying all over the place. And we'll do another episode kind of talking about what we're getting from these carrier rollout events and carrier season, just to kind of give everybody a peek behind the covers. But today joining me, why don't y'all introduce yourselves, our friends from Senior Market Advisors.
Well, thank you for having us, Dan. Also, congratulations. Thank you.
Thanks, man.
They're very much in order there. We're super stoked to partner with you. I know AmeriLife is super stoked to partner with you. It has been a really fun ride and journey, and we're already kind of off on a rocket ship. So this is it's been fun. So we're happy to be here. My name is Josh Borders. I'm the CEO of Senior Market Advisors, and we're stoked to be here. So stoked to talk shop, and
Thanks, man.
Good stuff, man.
Appreciate
Great.
it. Thank you very much. Come on, introductions. Don't be shy.
Good, Cassie.
I'm Cassie Smith. I'm the EVP of Sales for Senior Market Advisors.
Uh-oh, can't edit that.
Can't.
We're just going to go live, Cassie. You're going to have to live with it.
Oh, I'm not used to this. The abuse I get put through. I've worked with Dan since 2021.
You got to tell them the origin story.
Been a few years.
Go backwards.
I have to go back.
Well,
Yeah.
hilarious coincidence of how you guys are.
The small, big industry.
Yeah, it's true. We're in Small Lake City here.
Yeah, Dan was in Phoenix at a UHC event. And
Long time ago.
Yeah, a long time ago. And met my mom. He was at the event, and then you got on the same plane, right?
Yep.
And he's like, "Where are you going?" And Mom's like, "I'm going to Bluffdale to visit my daughter." He's like, "I live in Bluffdale, and we live in the same neighborhood, and work in the same." Didn't even know, and work in the same industry,
Right,
so.
like a street over.
Yeah.
So, and for what, 4 or 5 years, lived in the same neighborhood and didn't even know.
Know.
Yeah.
No.
So
That's great.
And now I'm on carrier calls, and I'm like, I can literally throw a rock and hit Dan's house.
Yeah.
We live that close, so I need this done.
I remember listening to you talk about, hey, Dan's my neighbor. Got to go talk to him.
Yeah.
How do we get something worked out?
Well, and the good thing is if we ever got sideways on anything, I'm going to go over a street.
Yeah.
And, knock on your door. Right?
Yeah. So. Exactly.
I know where to find you.
Hey, where's my co-op payment coming?
Yeah.
Where's my marketing support?
Yeah.
No, real quick. My name's Andy Watkins. I'm the EVP of Distribution with SMA. Just to go inside Josh and Cassie, very excited about this partnership. Excited about all the sides that this could kind of take on. So we're very excited for the future.
Yeah, and we're honestly, we're just getting started, right?
Yep.
So, we're excited about it too. It's going to be awesome. Been pumped about it the entire time, and this is, actually what's going on is we didn't schedule or plan the podcast. It wasn't like this was on the roadmap. It was more for people listening like, like how cliche, that now there's a podcast episode. It was more, actually the whole crew's in town, not just you guys, but, we've got Tiff from your team and Hallie and the whole crew kind of here. We're going through integration, right? And we're planning every component from, as we look at top down from, technology pieces to CRM systems, opportunities from like an agent distribution, from, vendor costs, from, overhead expenses. What can we really have as a cost savings and integrate? So we're having all those planning meetings in a 2-day session right now. So for those of you kind of tuning in and listening, that's what's actually going on.
Yeah.
And I said,
it's a fun distraction in between all of the integration work.
Yeah, so it's more like we're having a 2-day like hardcore session, and it's more, hey, like while you're here in town, let me pull you into the podcast room as a victim and do
Literally.
and shoot a podcast,
I wore
right?
my best podcast hat today. If you come on the agent booth, you got to have your hat game ready.
That is true. I may have about 100 hats at this point, and I just bought more. And my wife is to the point where she is just like, dude, you got to stop buying hats. We don't have room for it anymore in the closet.
If that's your problem, you're doing okay.
And I did tell her, I was like, look, the couple things that I can always buy, hats, watches, and shoes, because no matter if I'm fat or if I lose weight, they're always going to fit.
That's a good point.
It's very good logic and sound logic. And I also told her I'll start reducing my hats and getting rid of them when she reduces her shoes.
Okay.
So
I think the hat problem is a guy problem. We all have hats.
Yeah.
So we all need one more hat to go home with as an agent boost hat.
Yeah.
Let's get you some. So we'll have to grab some. Well, so I think I want to talk a little bit and more go through. I mean, we did a podcast, a couple of weeks ago talking about, more our deal structure. We kind of did a big announce. We're trying to be as transparent as we can to, people in the industry, carriers, there's the market at large. But, obviously there's certain components of the deal that you can't really disclose. Certainly we can't ever go into specific dollar amounts and details. But I think there's just a lot of intrigue in the industry. Like people think that it's this, really super secret. We talk about super secret contracts.
Super double secret.
Super double secret.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's a lot of super double secret things in this industry, right? And the longer you've been in it, the more you know that those things exist, right?
Yeah. I think that is kind of, if I go back to what I wanted out of my career in this business was to kind of take the veil off of those things. When you start in the business as a producer and then maybe you graduate into being a small GA or a small agency owner, there has been in the past just an absolute veil that is covered over the business and nobody wants to really kind of show you how to rise up in it. And I think part of the genesis of our conversations and our partnership was being like-minded in the fact that our goal should be finding people who are inspired by the business, who want to be entrepreneurs, who want to train the next generation of insurance producers, which is one of the most important things that everyone should be focused on, and then show them the pathway. You can still find profitability, you can still find, levels and all of those things, but holding the veil over someone's eyes or holding them down contract wise really stymies what could be the future leaders in the business. Yep. And, you and I in Atlanta a couple of years ago, just smoking cigars, talking shop, we both, were kind of one-to-one on that. And that really started the long kind of conversation of what it would look like for a partnership between Agent Boost, Senior Market Advisors, and AmeriLife. And here we are. So I think we are right now through this integration, through, what our planning together is, really making a place that agency owners, agents, whoever, wants to grow an agency and then eventually have it at scale and then possibly sell it and become, a successful, wealthy person, we've got the playbook for that. And so we want to get that into people's hands and not keep it away from them.
Yeah, 100%. As Borat says, great success.
Yeah.
So far it's been excellent, right? So, I mean, we can't, and by the way, that's, really, that's always the tone of our podcast, right? I mean, the part of it is, and why we do this is, I think that the industry, talking about like the veil and piercing and the transparency, part of it is I think that we've always been somewhat disruptive in the industry too, and things are very, stale. You have this kind of industry when we were joking about it years ago, how, you could literally go buy a house with like a DocuSign back years ago, and you couldn't do a Medicare Advantage enrollment or something with DocuSign or electronically, and we're like still faxing things in this industry, and it's just like an industry that's just a little bit stale and needs to be disruptive. And we've always, kind of been that way. And I think we try to inject like our personality and who we are so that people get, what we do on the podcast, like what you see is what you get, right? And we're the same, on this podcast and to the market as we are in those, in-person interactions. Like you're not going to get a different version of us, right? So that's the other thing that we're trying to continue to kind of proliferate, in the industry. There's no need to pretend. Let's just be ourselves, and let's just do business the way we want to do business. And you're going to attract the right partners too. And anyway, so going back to your message about what we're really trying to do is, we want to continue to grow. I mean, so many people now. I think I don't know how many weeks are we removed from this deal. 6 weeks, 8 weeks. I don't know. It's kind of been a blur. And yet I've been telling people I'm not on a yacht, or I'm not, off fishing. I'm not off on some private island doing, who knows what. It's a blur, right? Yeah. It's because, the whole idea and the concept was not, people are like, yeah, sure, Dan, say whatever. But the whole idea was not to take a bag of cash and go disappear. The idea is that, here we are removed, and I'm invigorated. It's almost like for you in the industry when, you were a producer and you hit your first AEP or whatever, 150 sales, whatever your goal was, or you hit your first goal of writing 400 apps in a year, or you're an MGA owner and you hit your goal of 1,000 apps that year, whatever it was. It's almost like been like a benchmark and a milestone for me that's been like invigorating me. And so it's more like we're more active and engaged in the business than we've ever been. Yeah. It's just been like fuel to the fire. So
and that's exactly the design of what we're trying to do in our acquisition and partnership strategy. It's really, acquisition is a function of the partnership. Yep. And so, for you, I came to AmeriLife through acquisition with SMA many years ago. I always joke, I've had every relationship with SMA that you could have. I was a downline of them. I was a competitor. I then came to them through acquisition, and now I'm the CEO. And so one day I'll be the fired CEO, and then that's the only one I haven't knocked off.
That's
yet.
Full circle, man.
Yeah, that's full circle for sure. But your deal structure and kind of what we're trying to do with our partnerships, and Cass and Andy are out there meeting with people every day, and trying to find those excited, future business leaders, is to find people who want the acquisition portion to be the start of the journey. Really, it's kind of almost the buy-in, and you start your business, it's hell running a business. Yep. Right? It takes a pound of flesh for sure. And what our structure is to kind of take some of that, businessy things off of the person who at the beginning was just inspired to grow something.
Right.
I had a mentor tell me one time is, whenever you start a business, anytime you have more than 10 employees, you're no longer doing what you started, you're running a business. Yep. And that is your job. And so our structure is to kind of take off a lot of those things, the taxes, the payroll, the commissions, the compliance, the contracting, all the HR, and put that in-house with SMA and AmeriLife so that you can focus on growth. So Dan, you too, you guys have built an incredible business here, and it's like ready to even go kind of to the next, stratosphere here. And with us partnering in that, we can, take a lot of those operational kind of baggage off of Agent Boost and say, now you guys can go out and do well for your agency partners, for your agents and agencies. And it's like, I said this when we made our LinkedIn announcement, the people that are really going to win in this are the agents and the agency owners, because you are locked in, fully focused. Our other, SMA partners and affiliates are fully locked in on growth. And it's exciting because that's what we all really wanted to do when we started this.
Yep. And I would tell you too that, in talking to different, you talked about agency partners and running a business, and, we all know that, Andy, how many years have you been in the business now?
2009, 2010.
Long time, yeah. And Cassie, same with you, right?
2005.
I mean, we've all been in the industry.
3 different orgs.
I mean, it's a different world right now from where it was. Like every decade, the industry would change, and now it's almost like the whole industry is different every 2 or 3 years now. I mean, it's just how quickly it's evolving. It's very different now, and the challenges are more complex. And it's almost like back years ago, you'd have like 1 or 2 factors kind of like working against you or challenges. And now it seems like every year you're grappling with 5 or 6 or 7 different challenges that are all like very compressed and difficult. And so like those what I've kind of found in the industry is that you have like those mid-size agencies who are really, they feel like the brunt of it, because when you're larger, like a huge org, you have like legal department, you have more resources, you have that recurring revenue, you have the ability to build and scale technology, you have all these solutions. But when you're kind of in the middle, you're just getting sandwiched it. You're getting it from both sides.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And we've just seen this a lot with these agency owners, that it's not to their not their fault necessarily, but they're really struggling to be successful. And so I think those are a lot of those agencies that I'm talking to, ones that have, anywhere from 50 to a couple hundred agents that are out there. They're maybe geographically spread in a couple of states. They're trying to run and figure out commissions and payroll.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to work with regionals that are like their own challenge, and they're trying to manage their P&L and their EBITDA as a business owner, but they're having to outsource to a bookkeeper. Like these are all really hard things for like a small to mid-sized business owner. And all they're really trying to do at the end of the day is help and support their agents, and they're really trying to help the consumer. But there's like those things you talked about that are so hard for them. And that's why, like acquisition or partnership makes sense for those people, right?
Yeah.
Where we want to bring them in and say, hey, you focus on continuing to do what you do. Like the value you bring is continuing to go find more agents, go mentor them, help them, go increase your sales and your volume, and actually grow your EBITDA, be more profitable. But those other things that you're struggling with, those can all be solved with like a partnership deal. And it's a quick integration process. And then we can basically take most of that stuff that's a hard, challenging pain in the butt, and those barriers are removed. And it's not just like those services that become more centralized, but it's even like the margin problem that people have. And
It's a
the
cheat
contract
code.
level. Yeah.
It is. These guys tell me every day they're talking to our mid-size agencies. They're out there in the field. They're hearing it every single day. You guys can tell us a little bit about some of the experiences that you guys see. Is that it's an absolute cheat code. It's almost, like you get to slide into home without running the bases. And it is something that, if you want to have a long future in this business and you're invigorated and you want to grow something, it's a perfect avenue.
I mean, they got into this industry for a reason, and then when they start to kind of figure out all the side effects of being a business owner, I mean, it hounds them down, and they get away from what they intended to do. Yep. And so this takes so much off their plate and actually gives them the opportunity and then back to the career path they chose. Yeah. And actually being that mentor and that coach out there to their agents and support staff.
Yeah, and what I also see too is for a number of reasons, but a lot of agencies do a phenomenal job and they grow really quick, and they go to like in the industry. I always hate the word, like we talk about like terminology too. Like terminology is like key. I hate using upline, downline. Hate it.
MGA, GA, LMNOP,
all the
QRS.
acronyms, and you're like, well, what are you? What are you, an NMA or an NMO? Or are you? And you're like, it's whatever acronym
What's
they
the
chose
difference?
to use, right?
Yeah.
But it is a problem for a lot of these agency owners too, where they grow so quick and they get to whatever level that is, whatever acronym with whatever carrier, right? And but then they kind of hit like this wall, like a lot of them, and they can't figure out how to like get it. Like let's say in a 3 or a 5 year span, they grow and they've got 50 agents or whatever, they're writing X amount of sales, but they can't get to the next level. Maybe it's like they can't expand geographically across state lines to another territory or area. Maybe it is they can't break into another line of business to increase their revenue. They haven't been able to successfully teach their agents how to like cross-sell ancillary products or do life and annuity. Or, maybe it is that like they're just in a marketplace that's had a lot of the SARs and they're just churning their business over and over. Like all these things exist for these agency owners, and they've just not had the right like guidance or resources or ability to be able to solve the problem. They know the problem's there.
Yeah.
They just they haven't been able to math it out as to like, how am I going to like overcome this problem that I'm dealing with? And just a lot of people out there, we talk to them all the time. Look, they're just not aligned correctly. Like they're not there with somebody that's going to help them look at the problem and help them solve it and get through it. And if they don't make any changes, they're going to just repeat it over and over and over, and they stay stuck. And then over time, I see them just being stuck, and then they just kind of shrug their shoulders and go like, well, I mean, I have a pretty good business, and, I can pay my bills and buy my new boat every couple years or whatever, and I'm fine. And they just stagnate. And it's actually it's very depressing to see somebody with so much potential, and all they need is just somebody to kind of help them solve that one or two little things. So it's been, I don't know, have you guys had experience with that or been the same common observation?
Oh yeah, as you talked about, I mean, you got the MGA, and seeing each other as upline, downline. It's not really the intention. It's like who's your partner, who's your true partner, and you want that person who not only sees it from a different angle, but it also gives you different pathways, consults, maybe it gives you, different things to look at. So maybe you're not looking at it the same way, and you want to find that true partnership that we try to do every day.
I think, Cass, tell us, you've had some recent conversations with people too, and it's like, I think that some people can be a little bit trepidatious or nervous about having these types of conversations because they don't.
Well, they don't know what they don't know.
Exactly.
And especially if you're buried in someone else's downline, I think it is important to choose someone that you trust that can get you to the next level. Because let's be honest, everybody has contracts, everybody has co-op dollars, everybody has a relationship with a carrier, but I think the one thing that we all do well is we have the national partnerships, we have the local partnerships, and we handhold. I think the biggest problem is like admin side, like you were talking about, but we make sure that your agents get through. And I think that's a huge struggle with a lot of these smaller groups is they'll recruit an agent, but they only get one or two of their contracts across the line. And it's like, well, where's the other 5? Where's the other 6? Help get them ready to sell, get them, that's one thing that we do. We handhold you so that way, like you said, you can get out and do what you're best at because we can't be there locally. So we rely on our mid-sized, smaller partners to go out there to recruit, and then we take on that burden. And I think a lot of people, they're not scared. I don't think that's the word, but they think they're going to give up something. But really, you're gaining
buying power.
Yes, you're gaining buying power and you're
partnership.
Yes, and so that I think. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was like, you're not only looked at as just that small agency or that mid-sized agency anymore. You're part of the bigger picture. So as you said, you have buying power as an org.
Yeah, and one of the things you guys talked about where we've been from a strategy perspective, we've always been aligned on is that I always tell folks like we want partnership, right? And I mean that like Agent Boost, we want partners, agent and agency partners. We want people that are all in, that are bought in, that they recognize that we're their partner in success, that we're providing them with technology solutions, we're providing them with training. We're going to pick up the phone every time they call. We're going to help them grow their business and be here for them. What has kind of happened in the industry for a lot of years that I think is dying, and it should be dying, and we're going to continue to see the trend is no more of this where you're a broker and you're like, hey, I went and talked to this distributor and this FMO and I finagled this backroom deal for this with Scan, and then I went over here and finagled this top deal with United, and then I use this FMO for this, and you have your contracts chopped up 5 ways till Sunday. It's been a bad strategy, and there's so many agents and agency owners out there that think like, oh, I can manipulate, move the needle by $25 here and there, and I'm going to win. And the reality is we tell everybody you lose so much by doing that because we want the investment and the commitment and the partnership from those agents and agencies, and you're going to get a lot more value and resource and honestly grow your business significantly more by choosing your partner. And we have agents and agency owners where we tell them like, look, we don't want someone dipping their toe and shopping like one. Look, I'm not going to, pick like a carrier that's not a big deal and call them out, but you know what I mean? Oh, I'm going to dip I'm going to dip my tippy toe in the water and give you my one contract. Oh, but I want to attend to all your stuff. And you're like, no, we're not doing that game.
I think that the years of really kind of just slicing up the pie, and everybody being kind of dog eat dog. I think I'm done with that. I think we're all done with it. There's a lot of ways to get a contract.
Yep.
And anybody can go get a contract, but that doesn't mean you're going to be a successful business owner. It doesn't mean that you're going to be successful at inspiring a new generation of insurance producers. If someone calls us and they want a contract, we say, we'll give you a contract, but that's not what we do here.
Right.
We want to be partners. We want to work on strategy. The thing that I love about SMA, and really kind of one of the reasons that I took this position a couple of 3 years ago, is that SMA is absolutely focused on our side of the business, which is developing strategy in distribution and business services.
Yep.
We do zero direct to consumer. We do zero, agent recruiting. We don't have a single person on staff. We're an account management staff. Our clients are you, Dan. Our clients are our other downlines. Our clients are the agency owners. we don't sell insurance. That is, I mean, I think we have that on the front page of our website is, we don't sell insurance. You sell insurance, and we help you do it at a high rate and at a profitable rate and at a compliant and successful rate. And that's what I love about our partnership and kind of our downlines. And I think that's really what people should be looking at a partner. If you just want a contract, go, there's a lot of people out there, good friends of ours, they'll give you a contract, but kind of that's where it ends with those type of relationships.
Yep.
Because there's no margin there for us to have any strategy. There's no margin for coaching. There's no margin for a continued relationship even. And so I love that about kind of what SMA does is really, we're not going to BS you. We're not going to, string you along. We're going to say, listen, you have an opportunity here. You have, a great reach in this market. This is what we can do for you. So it's fair and equitable, because I got to run a business too. Yep. And if you don't want if you want the resources from us, we have to have a margin to do so. And I think the people that can see the trees through the forest there really understand it, and they grow fast. Yep. The ones that are just chopping up, I got this contract. They're not. What are you going to do with that contract? Yeah. We're going to put it on a shelf. Because you're not.
They're going to make more revenue, Josh.
Yeah, they're not. If you spend that much time negotiating, for a couple of shekels here and there, you're not out there actually growing a market.
Yeah, I love how you say shekels. We say the same thing. But just to kind of give you okay, Dan, that's like talk. Like before we came in here, we were all just sitting around my conference table and we were talking about AEP, and we were talking about retention and how we were going to approach it, and we were talking about how we're going to chop up our book of business and know all the SARs, and then which ones are high risk. And we're going to do that for all of our agents, not just our internal call center, but for our agent partners, we're going to go through and also evaluate their book of business and send them a report. And then we have a tool that we're going to pay for, which I'm not going to say here, but we're going to use a tool that also is going to run their whole book of business and say hey, here's all your plans that are exiting and are going to have a SAR, and here's the next 1, 2, 3 plans that are most similar as far as co-pays, benefit structure, network, and does that evaluation so that you hand that to the broker and say, hey, here's a really hard upcoming AEP. Here's your book of business. Here's how it's chopped up, and we've already given you a head start to say, yeah, some of those carriers are good. United's going to send you a list of your impacted members or other people. Not all the carriers are going to do that, though. And we're going to be able to do that, pull those HICA numbers, match it up with the SARs, and then give you a head start and a direction on which plans you should be looking at and advising for your members. Those are the things that we do, and it's not free, and takes a lot of time and money for us to do that to your book of business, and labor and staff and technology and paying for a third-party vendor. And again, those are the things that we're trying to do. We can't do that if I've got one carrier contract where someone writes 4 apps a year, with us. You know what I mean? So those are perfect. And those are the examples that people want to hear, I think, because they understand, well, what do you really do for people? So, anyways.
Well, we do tons of stuff, and, we have 65 full-time employees, and, I think last year can really, paint the picture of why you should have a great partner and someone who is engaged with you. For the first time in history of you beat me by 2 years. I'm 07. But,
I'm 07 too.
Yeah,
so you're the OG, I guess.
For the first time, for the first time in my career in Medicare, last year we saw plans degrade.
Yep.
Right? That's never happened. It's always gotten better. It's always gotten a little bit better. The new fun thing this year, the new fun thing this year. And you saw, when I started, penetration rates were a quarter of what they are right now in the MA business.
20-30%.
20-30%, and now we're over 60, And so, we saw a lot of people last year, too, for the first time, see their renewal income go down by 20% instead of year over year go up by 20%. And that is a new thing that's never happened in the market. And so we've got another one of those crazy years coming right now. We're going to see a lot of disruption. It's going to be imperative that you do retention work. And if you don't have that good data and do that ahead of time, you're going to spend your entire AEP just migrating your current book of business. So we, Andy and Cassie can tell you about some of the stuff that we're doing right now and strategies on learning from these carriers, trying to get, and everyone's being quiet right now. It is hard. It's crickets out there trying to see, because everyone is holding their cards tight to the vest, because they want to try to be competitive as possible and not, lose out to rebids. But we're going to see this year, I think, the same thing happen, where we see that renewal line move to the first year commission line. And if you're not being super proactive, you're going to lose out on your book of business.
Yep. It's very, 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 like, we'll talk about AEP more in depth here in a minute. But like, as I'm thinking about, like, we all know, probably have a better view of what's going to be happening this AEP. Like, and I really mean that. Some of our carrier partners try to give us a little bit of a head start. They tip their hat a little bit and tell us, what to expect. And that's with the anticipation that we're going to go out to our agents and agency partners and get them prepared for the same thing, right? That's how distribution works. It should work,
that's how
right?
it's supposed to work.
I mean, I joke about it because most of the national carriers, they do distribution the right way, and some people don't know what distribution is, and some of those carriers do not do it whatsoever. But we're talking about that, and as I just keep thinking about these agents and agency owners, so many of them float out there, and they're just going to be so lost, you know what I mean, with not getting guidance from, a distribution partner. They don't have an affiliation. They don't have anybody really supporting them or helping them. And for them to kind of like wait for the email blast that they get in September or a notification from a local broker manager, and that's about all the guidance they're going to get, they're going to be up, shit creek, so to speak, without a paddle, maybe finding out like maybe a third or half their book needs to be SAR'd or something like that. And there's a lot of agents and agencies who are going to get caught, this year, I think. And so I think that's a concern, and it's more the reason we continue to want to talk like, partnership with these people and say, hey, those are the things that we can help you with, it's not just even like the pre, right? It's like we want to help people understand and grow their business, but we also want to put them, like we've talked about, on a path to partnership where they can eventually have a plan to where their business is valued, to where they get a good value out of their business. They have a partnership path over like a time horizon, and they can actually do an acquisition. And there's a lot of agencies right now. I mean, we talk about it a lot. Like we have like pipeline calls, right? Mm-hmm. Like going through our pipeline of different agency partners that we're planning to bring into the ecosystem. Yeah. And it's happening all the time. Like we have our like war room board, so to speak, and you guys know like about half of ours right now, and we have another half that we're developing. And these are people where I say, hey, here's an agency that is like ready to go. They're like, ops are good, their revenue is good, they're running a good shop, they are sound right now, and we can do this deal now. And let's get them through the pipeline. And then we have other partners where we're going like, hey, they want to do a deal. I need to help and work with them for anywhere from 3 months to a year or two and get them polished up and help them with their business and their operations and get them to a point where they're able to actually do a transaction, because they're not yet, but they're going to be, and they're going to be good. And these are the partners we want. And that's kind of just for people out there wondering, because I've been hit up a lot since we closed over these last, several weeks. And in some people, it's been an immediate, I'm raising my hand, like, sign me up. And other people, it's like, hey, I'm kicking the tires. What does it look like? And it's been it's been better than I anticipated. It's been more equitable than I thought it would be. The numbers have been better than I thought it would be.
Yeah, you're not chained to a desk, right? The fear. HR didn't bust down the front door. And
No, yeah. I mean, it's been better. And so, like, I think everybody kind of wants a peek behind the covers. And then when you start talking to these agency owners, they realize that it's not scary, but they've heard third hand or fourth hand or whatever about, how things are going to go or how they've gone in the past, or they hear horror stories. And it's not how it's been. And usually when we do these deals, it's when you're taking an agency owner with a relationship and you're shepherding them through and mentoring them and helping them fix and arrange their business in a way and be more successful. And I think that's the thing that's the most appealing, because for these MGA, SGA, FMO, like whatever we want to call them, shops out there, like, look, they're going to have some upline that's distributing or brokering contracts to them, but the margins aren't good. And so they're never going to get that guidance to help them.
Well, and they're competing with them.
Yeah. And so it's like, we're trying to tell these agency owners, like, look, we want partnership. Like, we want skin. We want to, like, be a part of your company. We want to acquire it where there's skin there, where it's not like I'm looking at a $25 margin on wholesale on what you do. We're looking at pulling everything under the hood, looking at everything, being invested, and actually going to work to fix the business or to improve the business, and you're fully invested. And so that's the one thing that I think when I've had those conversations with some of these agency owners, they go, oh, well, I just was going to talk to you a little bit about, but damn, yeah, this is great. Like, I'm in.
Yeah,
you know?
we call it the path to partnership. Yeah. And these guys here were an integral part in building our agency builder program. And that is the same thing that Dan's doing here and you're doing with Agent Boost, is, finding those mid-size agencies that, want to take that path, and they need, just like on the distribution side, they want to see beneath, or behind the curtain. This is exactly what it is. Okay, come in. Let me tell you what an EBITDA is. When I started my acquisition, someone said, "What's your EBITDA?" And I go, "What the hell is that?" I got 60 grand.
I was further ahead than you were.
Is that good or bad?
I think I was further ahead than you.
You absolutely were. And you can tell this, and I can say it. When you look at having those partnership conversations, it's really scary, and it's your business, which you somehow feel like is like a part of your body.
It's a child.
It's another, a child. Yeah, absolutely. But it really is, an opportunity to see behind the curtain and say, hey, where do I want to go? Do I want to sell my business for X amount of money? Do I want to make more revenue a year?
There. One big misnomer I found too, and I don't want to throw you off too much, was I had people who had a broken mindset in that they wanted X amount of dollars, or like in their mind, everybody has like a number, right? Whether they say they have a number or not, everybody has a number.
Sure.
And they have this number, and so they think like, well, I'm not in a position to sell my business yet or do a transaction because I'm not this number.
Yeah. Well, what happens when you're at that number?
Right.
You don't know what the market, the market is going to do. There's a lot of things out there. So,
well, they don't understand the deal structure though.
And the path to that number. Yeah. So if you come to me and you say, hey, I want to make $100 million, I'll say, fantastic. I want you to make $100 million too.
Come to me instead. No, I'm just
go to Dan. Me, Dan, it doesn't matter. One and the same. Which hat do you like better? It is, I want to make $100 million. Cool. Here's the structure in which you can do that.
Exactly.
And, there's no, razzle dazzle here. We're looking at a joint partnership where you hold a significant amount of retained equity.
Yep.
And we are going to take a 5-10 year run, because really what we're looking for, Cass and Andy will tell you this, they're out there trying to find the future leaders.
Yep.
And if we can find people like that who have an entrepreneurial mindset, who can say, hey, I understand the value. I'm not giving away anything of my company. I am reinvesting portion of my retained equity into this company because I want to make $100 million.
Yep.
Well, cool. Let's go do it together. I'll show you exactly how to do it.
Well, and I had like a couple agencies already that I was like, well, do you have a fictitious? Do you have a magic number in your head? And they're like, yeah. And I was like, you're already there. And they didn't realize, like I said, you already are there. Like, you are already in a position where if you do a transaction, like you're not going anywhere tomorrow, right? And I mean, I think people need to understand that you want someone to be in there for years. Like, this is a transaction, but like the person running the business, the idea is to grow it, and obviously not just a small amount, but really exponentially grow their business over a number of years. And as long as you have somebody who's engaged and is willing to go grow it for years, a lot of them are already there, and they just don't realize it. They're just thinking like, oh, let's just say I'm at $1 million a year in profit, but I really want to get to 8 or whatever, so I can then get like this number that I have in my head because I heard something about multiples, and that's the number that I need. And you're like, no, it doesn't work that way. Let me talk to you about the structure. And then they go, oh.
We hear it all the time. I mean, it's like everybody has their number in their head, and it's like, how did you logically get there in so much time? When actually a structure like this will actually catapult you there quicker, faster.
Yes.
It actually becomes a realistic opportunity for you.
It's a shortcut, and along the way, it's not as painful.
No. It takes a lot of the stress out of your life.
Yeah, because like we've all been there. You feel like it's like me against the world, right? And you have that like mentality where there's nobody you're like backed into a corner all the time trying to figure out your moves, and you have limited options. And, this just changes it to where you go, okay, I already have my path to success. Now I have more resources and I have more avenues to get there. And
when I was selling my business too and partnering with AmeriLife through SMA, I had this kind of realization. Over the previous 10 years, I was fighting at every corner.
I've been there too.
You're fighting at every corner. And one day I realized that the partnership here was, instead of, going into the fight with the army at my front, I was now going into the fight with the army at my back. And I had people to support me. I had people who were like-minded and had, an interest in our business growing, not just myself. And it really was kind of like that aha moment that I was going, this is honestly the best thing I could do for my business. If I'm being a good steward of the opportunity, and my employees now, they have, ton more resources. They have better health insurance. They, have a better, deal our KPI structure and bonus structure and all of that. They get I didn't know what PTO was. Did you?
Yeah.
I found out that after, I have my first corporate position here. I've not used any of it yet, but they say it's out there.
I don't know how to submit a request for it personally, but
We'll show you.
I know it
Does Cass call it pretend time off?
I don't know what that is.
I know it exists. It's an ethereal thing for me.
Yeah, they say it's great, but I don't know. I'll try it someday.
Yeah.
But it really is. It's one of those things that people could say like, hey, I'm not giving up. I'm making the best decision that I could for my business to help it grow.
Yeah, and I've been going through it. Like, I've been living it over the last couple of weeks, what you call like integration, right? So you shake hands, you take a big fat check, like they always say. It's actually very anticlimactic, like
I was staying in a parking lot at a J. Alexander's in Memphis,
I told everybody on the podcast where I was sitting in a conference room in Louisville at a Humana thing, and I was like, I need a private room, and got on a call with attorneys for a few minutes, and I was like, okay. All right, done.
All right,
I
see
think
you later.
there's money in my account tomorrow. Like it's so
no fireworks, no ballyhoo.
No.
It's just 12-minute phone call.
Yeah, no, 2 minutes.
It was 2. Well, I think we stayed on 10 minutes talking about how it was only 2 minutes.
Yeah, that's probably true. Yeah. And you kind of, but then after they kind of give you, at least what I found with AmeriLife, they give you a breather for a week or two. And, and then after that, you kind of start this integration path, right? And then it's like, you have these different departments, like finance will be a department and, treasury. And so you're kind of talking about, where your funds are going to go, deposits, from different bank accounts, which ones you're going to use, kind of getting on the same page as far as, GLs and accounting and all that. So you got like your finance, and then you got, legal, which is, a nothing burger most of the time. If you run a good shop, there's not much to go through. And then you got like your IT, and you got your HR, and what am I missing? You got a couple of those, kind of pillars, so to speak, within the, and you just kind of, insurance is one. And so you just kind of go through integration calls, once a week, meet the team, like, hey, here's our team at Agent Boost, here's the team at AmeriLife. And, you kind of just, kind of sync up and coordinate on all that. It's not really a heavy lift. And they kind of warn you and say, hey, integration might take anywhere from, a month or two to up to a year, just depending on the year, because they're actually good at saying, hey, you know what, AEP is like around the corner. Can we like kick the can on this, like 3 or 6 months? And they're like, yeah, whatever's best for your business, let's do that. And so I found that every department and person has been very amenable to say, because they're like, we get the business, we understand it. Like, if you're telling me, Dan, the 4 calls a week on integration is a lot, like we'll spread it out more. We'll take longer. Don't worry about it, because we want you to run the business and do a good job, right? And so I found that integration has, I think about 80 to 90% through integration.
Got to be.
We're really close to being fully, integrated to what we need to be to continue operating. And on the look forward, I think we're almost done.
Yeah.
And it has not been that painful.
Just in time to put your head down and sell.
Yeah. So for those wondering, it's like, the timing leading up to the deal, to executing the deal, to carrier rollout season, to integration has all bled so like nicely and overlapped one to another that, now AEP is upon us. And we do ACA as well. So, then we'll have OE that come about January, I'll be able to breathe.
Yeah.
I actually, great segue there. I don't know if it was intended, but I am really excited. I know, right? I am really excited about, and one of the reasons that we wanted to partner with you and Agent Boost is that SMA is going to be focused on relying on Agent Boost now for all of our ACA contracting, production, training,
Hell yeah, baby.
and world domination, right?
Yep,
So super stoked to work with you on that. SMA partners, you guys are getting a massive resource in that. One of the big things that's on our long-term planning is, like, I don't know if anybody's noticed, but SEPs have kind of changed. The regulations in Medicare are starting to get a little bit more strict and being pulled back. And, like, at this point, everybody's got to go learn another song. We've been playing the hits for a lot of years, and we've got to go find a few different avenues. And ACA is definitely one that we're going to lean into it, and we're excited to follow you and Mike and the team here to kind of guide us into it being a pillar product for us.
Awesome. I love that. Is that a Nashville saying, by the way? It was good.
Was it?
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know.
Home run. I don't know.
Love it.
We use a lot of those expressions and sayings around here. It's got to be a Nashville thing, man.
I don't know. They tell me I speak exclusively in analogies most of the time, so I'm trying to hold it back right now.
I'll take that over allegories.
Yes.
So, hey, no, we're excited about it too, and you're right. That's important, and we probably want to talk with Andy and Cass too about, like, SCPs and the landscape changing. You said it's important, though, adapting and the business is changing. I mean, last year we were looking at it, and we didn't have, like, that dual, like, SEP and, like, Q4, which we were looking at our numbers. We're like, why were our numbers down? Oh, well, it's because we just banked those sales in different months. Because that's
so strange. Like, January was 2.5x production, which carried us through. Mm-hmm. But we saw a 20% decline in Q3 and 4. Yeah. And it's because of the restriction. And, like, people, disaster SCPs and all this, like, the DSTs, like, those are all, like, compliance is gonna crack down on this shit. They are cracking down. Like, it's no longer where you can just throw it out there or someone can say, hey, nobody's checking it. They're checking it. Right. They have to monitor these HEDIS scores. They have to monitor their STAR scores because of the tightening, in reimbursement rates. Like, carriers are not messing around anymore. Yep. They will terminate you. It was funny, like, you remember 10 years ago, like, if someone got terminated, they like killed someone or like embezzled someone's, some old lady's, 401k.
They took their opioids or something.
They stole their opioids from the table. It's like, oh, look this one up in the car. It is. But nowadays, like, we're seeing people getting term letters, on a daily basis because these carriers, they know if they don't protect their reimbursement rates, they're not going to find profitability. And I don't know, you've listened to a few of these quarterly financial calls. Those have been some rowdy calls, and nobody wants to be a part of that in the future. So I think you kind of have to start thinking about it.
And those CEOs and CFOs, they want to make it to next quarter.
Not next year, next quarter, right? Yeah. I live my life one quarter at a time.
It's true.
So you have to start thinking about the other products involved. I mean, you guys start thinking about that HIP. How do I firm up the retention rates with my clients? How do I make sure they have the right benefits? Did I go over doctor's drugs? Everything in the conversation. You need every tool in the book to make sure you did it compliantly. And also there's retention efforts going a long way.
Yeah, and I appreciate everything you guys have said about, like, ACA too, and that was part of the strategy, because people have asked me too, like, well, why did you guys work with, like, SMA? And I was like, there's a lot of synergies. You're going to see them, though. It's not going to happen immediately. It's not going to happen in 30 days, but you're going to see it over time, like, why it makes sense. And we're really excited about going deep with you guys on that, and having that be a pillar to your business too, that is bringing in significant revenue. And ACA has not been this, like, cute thing. There's been this fraud that's been going on for a lot of years, and with the massive changes, like, I think we're going to shoot a podcast episode here maybe later today or tomorrow going through a lot of the ACA changes, because there's 5 big key provisions popping off in August and more coming for OE, and it's kind of setting the path for the reset in the ACA market. And it's going to go from, like, just this racket and, all the fraudulent stuff that's been going on there to, like, a legitimate line of business. And this is, something that's, going to be a real revenue line not something that's just cute like some ancillary revenue. And, agents need to be a little bit more dynamic, to your point, in being able to not just sell Medicare only exclusively, but having other tools in their tool belt, so to speak, and more diversification. They feed into the Medicare book of business. A lot of times you're selling a Medicare person, they got their nephew or their grandkids or whoever. It's very easy to cross-sell. They can bundle in the ancillaries. And the agents who can't start adapting and diversifying a little bit, I mean, that's their margin, right? That's their gravy. When you're looking at these chaotic years of everything happening in the MA space and people are just churning and they're staying stagnant because they're writing 100 new apps, but they're losing 100 on the back end because of SARS or whatever else. They're just staying flat. And that's like, those are their gains a lot of times.
I think that's why we've held off on really leaning into ACA, is that there was a lot of bad actors out there, and there was, a ton of, just call it fraud. There was a ton of fraud in the marketplace. And it feels like finally we're going to see some leveling out. We're going to see some restrictions come in, which is not a bad thing.
Right.
If you want to build a sustainable book that you can really rely on, it's good to have some of these regulations, because we got to clean up the business and get these bad actors out of here. So now I feel like it's starting to level out. You guys are just market experts in this, and this was the time now through this partnership that SMA says, hey, we want to make this a pillar and opportunity. So, for our downlines, I'm excited for them. They're going to get, a fast pass. Was that a Disney reference?
Yeah, if they still have it, I'm in, by the way. If they still
Lightning
have
something
it,
now? I don't know.
Lightning Lane, baby.
But they're going to get an opportunity to kind of, really stand up ACA for themselves and for their partners with a ton of really good information and resources quickly. So it's exciting, man. I'm super stoked about it.
Appreciate the confidence and the partnership, really do. And we were talking about it too. We're already looking, just for people. We're already talking about AEP that's upon us. We're talking about every month. Like we're so focused on our sales numbers every month, even though we're in lock-in and it's a grind. And I think like historically July and August are our worst months, like as an org and just in the industry.
Which is hilarious because it's our busiest months.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we're crazy, but I mean, as far as like revenue and sales, it's slow because producers are all out, they're traveling, like kids are out for school, it's summer, people are not answering the phone. I mean, whatever, that's how it always goes. And then every day that we inch closer to AEP, it's like it ticks up and it gets busier and it gets better. And we're not just looking at AEP, we're already talking about next year. That's what we're talking about. Well, what carriers are we working with to where we have plenty of CSNP like SEPs next year? What about this MMP like realignment that's happening and the crosswalks to who? And like, we're talking about what are our agents going to be selling next year when we're at this time next year? How many, markets are we going to be working that SEP INT? How many agents are going to be selling ACA with valid SEPs and documents? How many, ancillary things are people going to go back to their book and market to throughout the year? And you guys are working with agents all the time, and we're already thinking about April of next year too. So, it doesn't just happen by accident, and orgs that are successful, it's not just an accident. I guess maybe it's happened before, but I don't think so. It's usually
not anymore.
Very strategic planning to say, like, we need to have enough lines of business, carriers and products, and we need to have like an actual strategy and a playbook for our agents and agencies so they can be successful, because they can go have a good AEP, and then if they sit around on their thumb for 7 months next year, it's going to completely erode any of the success that they had even during AEP. And I think next year is not going to be any easier. Like I said, it's like we're hunting. We were talking about like I said, certain carriers and saying like, well, what does their footprint look like, and which products are we going to be able to sell throughout the year, and what are we going to be able to do? Because people can't just sit around not making an income for 6 months.
No, it's not a broad brush anymore. These carriers are getting way more surgical on where they are pushing product and where they want to be. Texas, Arizona, both are great examples there, with Medicaid alignment, with the different, portions and geographic and areas is, these carriers want to grow in areas where they have a clientele base that is actually profitable for them.
Yep.
And so we have to be very surgical and thoughtful on finding opportunities in those areas so our agents can actually produce business. They've been kicking around, what has been 3 years in a row that these carriers have been kicking the same PPO block of members, one to the other. It's like a ping pong match.
Business.
And nobody wants it. So what are we going to do with those? So, we have to be,
just read the room eventually and say it's not sustainable.
It's not sustainable. And those are going to go back to kind of probably, a little bit more restricted HMOs.
HMO POS.
Yeah, HMO POS, something, Yeah, when was the last time you had to worry about prior authorization? I think in the future that might be a thing that comes back to the world for us.
Well, and
you're even seeing that with Medicare directly,
Oh yeah. Well, and I also think that like the broker that used to have a book of business where they have 1,000 clients and 940 of them are with one carrier, those days are long gone.
Yeah.
And it's like it used to be the thing, and I would see it with distribution a lot, and they wanted to become really proficient with just one carrier, and that's all that they sold for the most part, like their one silver bullet. And you just can't do that anymore. I mean, you really can. It doesn't matter even if you're in a small rural market. You have these carriers and you have 3, 4, 5, and the marketplace has shifted so much. Like, too bad, so sad. You got to learn 3, 4, 5, 6 different carrier portals, processes, have multiple writing numbers to track. You got to be more dynamic because those days are just gone. And God forbid you are one of these agents listening and 90% of your block of business is with one carrier. Those are going to be the people who are the most impacted, after 5, 6 years of riding this great wave, and suddenly their entire book is impacted.
Yeah, you saw that last year, just when they started suppressing plans, and then even mid-year exits of full states. Okay. I've never seen that before. That was a wild thing that happened. And so if you're the insurance producer out there and you are doing that, your livelihood is at risk. You have to diversify. And to be quite honest, nowadays, like with Sunfire and all these great aggregator tools, sit down, do your certs. It takes a week to do all the certs, get it over with. If you've got a good partner, like Agent Boost or SMA, they're going to give you, really easy kind of cheat sheets on how to get to the right place, how to find the certifications, what to upload, how to do it all. So it's you've got to have kind of a full bag. And honestly, that's what's best for the client too. If you want to call yourself an advisor and be out there saying, I can do the best for you, you got to have all those products.
100%. And so your handlers were telling you we're coming up on time.
Is that a fact?
Yeah, a minute ago, man. I think so. So I think you guys are going to have to catch a flight here in a minute. But
heading back.
So we're coming up on time. But to bring it home, any last thoughts before we wrap?
No, I mean, we're super excited for everything for ACA, for Medicare, that's AEP coming up. So every day is just going to be more fun, and we're looking forward to the future.
I think I just wanted to add with the partnership is if we're talking to you or Dan's talking to you, there's a reason why we're talking to you. The partnership it's strategic. We don't want to change your makeup because we wanted to work with you because of the things that you do great, and we just want to help you get to the next level. And if you're not succeeding, we're not succeeding. And so whether you're mid-size or smaller, we want to help you through the journey, and there's a reason why we're talking. We just don't want to buy everybody and anybody. There's a reason why.
Yeah, appreciate that. And I would, the same thing to kind of just bring it home. I mean, we talk about it, not like in a really direct or overt way, in the podcast, but we always find that there's people just floating through the industry. And if you're out there floating and you're trying to figure it out, like hit us up. We know what's going to be happening in this AEP. We have a game plan. Like I said, Mike's in Tampa right now with 4 of our agent success managers, going through kind of the industry and where it's at right now and trying to help and prep those newer agents, newer to us, right? Like newer to Agent Boost that just onboarded. So if you're looking for some guidance and you're tired of floating, hit us up.
Yeah, and I think you would be lucky to do so. So, again, Dan, I got to say it one more time. Congrats, brother.
Thanks.
And I am so happy to partner with you. And if you're an agency out there that wants to grow, if you climb a mountain, it'd be better to go with someone that's already been there. So call Dan up and let's go climb it.
Appreciate you, man. Been
Cheers,
awesome.
bud.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.